I'm Don Brown, one of the CDL instructors for Stafford Training School.
Ricky Mead from the CDL Training School.
We're going to do your CDL Class B pre-trip this morning.
First, we want to make sure your wheels are chocked and your parking brake is off before you do this.
Keys in your pocket.
Keys in your pocket.
Always take the key out.
So you start right at the front of the truck. Start on the ground. There's no puddles hanging. There's no puddles on the ground. No wires or hoses hanging. My bumper is properly mounted and secured and is level. My license plate is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, missing, and is clean. Fog lights properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, missing, and they are clean. My headlights properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, missing, and they are clean. My directionals are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, missing, and they are clean. Spot mirrors and brackets are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, missing, and they are clean. Now after your spot mirrors, you want to move to your windshield. My windshield is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, missing. There's no illegal stickers, and there's a valid inspection sticker. My wipers are properly mounted and secured, and is flush with the windshield. And my cab lights are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, missing, and they're also clean.
Start over here.
Now, I'm going to start at the front wheel, but when you want to make sure your hood is locked in the lock position. Now you're going to start at the center of the wheel. My hub is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking. This is where I check it. This is where I fill it, and it is full. My lug nuts are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and there's no rust streaks indicating there's looseness. Rims properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. No signs of weld repair. Bell stem and caps properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking. And if I was to check the tire pressure of the tire gauge, the tire would be between 100 and 105 psi. My inner and outer sidewalls properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. No cuts, no rash. And my tire tread is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and there's no less than 4/32 of an inch of tread. And moving inward into the brakes, my brake shoes are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. There's no less than 1/4 inch of friction material, and it's not contaminated with grease or oil. Brake drums properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. Moving in behind the wheel, there's my air canister and line properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. And my slack adjuster is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and not leaking, and there's no more than an inch of free play. Then I got my tie rod on the back side of the wheel. It's my steering, and it's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, with cotter pin and castle nut in place. Shock absorber is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking. My axle is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, it's not bent. U-bolts and nuts properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. Leaf spring is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. My spring keeper is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. My front spring hanger is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. My spring shackle in the rear is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. And my frame is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. There is no excessive holes or signs of weld repair. Now you want to start at your firewall. I start at the back. Firewall is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and there's no holes to let exhaust fumes in. Air compressor governor is properly mounted and secured, and lines properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and they're not leaking. Washer fluid reservoir is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. This is where I check it, this is where I fill it, and it's full. My power steering reservoir and hoses are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking. This is where I check it, this is where I fill it, and it's full. My air filter is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. My exhaust is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. It's not leaking. Turbo is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking. My air compressor is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, it's not leaking. My fuel pump properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking. And follow these hoses. This is my power steering pump. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking. And my air compressor, fuel pump, and power steering pump are all gear driven. And my engine oil, this is where I check it, this is where I fill it, and it is full. AC compressor is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, it's not leaking. And it is belt driven, and there's no more than 3/4 inch of play at center. My water pump is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking. And it is also belt driven, and there's no more than 3/4 inch of play at center. My fan's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. My fan shroud is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. My radiator and its hoses, you got the upper one and the lower one, are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and they are not leaking. Now I'll move to the other side of the truck. My treat, my center hub, lug nuts, rim, valve stem and cap, inner and outer tires, tread, brakes, suspension, and frame, all as the first set, with exceptions of steering arm, drag link, and pitman arm with castle nut and cotter pin in place. So I got my power steering box and hoses are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and they're not leaking. Steering shaft and U-joints properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking. My alternator is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it is belt driven, and there's no more than 3/4 inch play at center, and there's no corrosion on the terminals. All my filters and hoses are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and they're not leaking. My air restriction gauge is properly mounted and secured and is in the green. Coolant reservoir is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and not leaking. This is where I check it, this is where I fill it, and it's full. And back here I have my starter. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and there's no corrosion on the terminals. Now on start, side steps, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. Battery box, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. There's 3 batteries in place, and there's no corrosion on the terminals. My door handle, door latch, door hinge, window track, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. And my mirror and mirror assembly are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and they are clean. Grab handles properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. The fuel tank and straps properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. It's not leaking. This is where I check it, this is where I fill it, and it's full, and there's an O-ring in place in the cap. Catwalk is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. Hydraulic reservoir tank properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. It's not leaking. This is where I check it, this is where I fill it, and it's full. A DRT reflective tape, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and they are clean. My mud flap and brackets, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. And before you get to the first set of tires, we got drive shaft and U-joints are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking at the back of the transmission or the front of the differential. Now, Start the center of the tires. My center hub's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. Lug nuts are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and there's no rust streaks indicating looseness. My rem's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, no signs of weld repair. Valve stem and caps properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and not leaking. And if I was to check the tire pressure, it'd be between 100 and 105 psi. My sidewalls, inner and outers, are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and there's nothing obstructing the inside of the tires, wedged. My tire treads properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and there's no less than 2/32 of an inch of tread. Get back on here. We got my brake shoes properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and no less than 1/4 inch of friction material and not contaminated with grease or oil. Brake drums properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. And you got my air canister and lines properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. On the back side of your air canister, you have a slack adjuster, just like the front, and that's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking, and there's no more than an inch of free play. On the other side of the mud flap, we got our spring hanger, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. And what's connected to that, we have leaf spring, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. And what's holding that to the axle, we got U-bolts and nuts, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. And on the back side, we got airbag, it's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, it's not leaking. And on the other side of that is the shock absorber, is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and that's not leaking. Now I'm going to treat the center hub, lug nuts, rim, valve stem and cap, inner and outer sidewall tires, tire tread, brakes, and suspension, all as the first set. Yeah, mud flaps properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. My side marker light properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and it's clean. My license plate's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and is clean and up-to-date registration. All of my rear lights are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and they are clean. My DOT reflective tapes properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and they are clean. And my tailgate locks properly mounted, secured, and in the lock position. I got my side markers properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and is clean. My mud flaps properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. DOT reflective tape properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and is clean. Now, start with this tire. My center hub's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. My lug nuts are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and there's no rust streaks indicating looseness. My rim's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. No signs of weld repair. Valve stem and caps properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, it's not leaking, and if I was to check the tire, it'd be between 100 and 105 psi. Inner and outer sidewalls, the tires are properly mounted, secured, no cracked, broke, or missing, no cuts, no rash, nothing wedged in between. Tire tread properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and there's no less than 2/32 of an inch of tread. Yeah, my brake shoes properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, no less than 1/4 inch of friction material, and not contaminated with oil or grease. Brake drums properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. And you got your air canister and lines properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and not leaking. Slack adjuster is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing, and there's no more than an inch of free play. I got my leaf spring hanger properly mounted and secured, nut crack, broke, or missing. And I got my leaf spring, it's properly mounted and secured, nut crack, broke, or missing. And what's holding that to the axle is you got your U-bolts and nuts, properly mounted and secured, nut crack, broke, or missing. You got your airbag that's properly mounted and secured, nut crack, broke, or missing, it's not leaking. And on the other side of that is the shock absorber is properly mounted, secured, nut crack, broke, or missing, it's not leaking. Now I'm going to treat this set. The center hub, lug nuts, rim, bow stem and cab, inner and outer tires, sidewall, tire tread, brakes, and suspension, all is the first set. Now we got mud flap, brackets, properly mounted, secured, nut crack, broke, or missing. Then we got frame, it's properly mounted and secured, nut crack, broke, or missing. There's no excess holes or signs of weld repair. Side steps, properly mounted and secured, nut crack, broke, or missing. And fuel tank and straps, properly mounted and secured, nut crack, broke, or missing. And it's not leaking. This is where I check it, this is where I fill it, and it's full, and it has an O-ring in place in the cap. My exhaust and heat shield, properly mounted and secured, nut crack, broke, or missing, it's not leaking. Grab handle, properly mounted and secured, crack, broke, or missing. And I'm going to treat this door assembly and mirror assembly all as the other side, with exceptions of the sight glass that's properly mounted and secured, and a crack, broke, or missing, and is clean, and there's no obstructions of view. And I got my air tanks properly mounted and secured, and hoses that are properly mounted and secured, and a crack, broke, or missing, and it's not leaking. This is where I drain it after every shift. That is it. That will conclude my outside pre-trip. Yeah, before you enter the truck, you want to make sure you got your 3-point. Get in. First, seat belt properly mounted and secured, no cuts, no frays. You want to go to your emergency equipment. You got my 3 reflective triangles. And on your side, underneath your seat, we have a 10 BC fire extinguisher by your feet. And in here we have extra fuses or circuit breakers, and this truck takes circuit breakers. The floor is properly mounted and secured. There's no holes to let exhaust fumes in. Shift boot properly mounted and secured, no holes to let exhaust fumes in. There's nothing loose on the floor to roll around to obstruct my pedals. And I got my pedals are properly mounted and secured. Got my clutch pedal, it's properly mounted and secured, no more than 2 inches of free play. My steering wheel, for a 20-inch steering wheel, there's no more than 2 inches of play, and it's properly mounted and secured. And we got my mirrors are properly mounted and secured and clean, and they are adjusted to me. Now I want to start, turn the truck on, but not running. Wrong key. We're going to turn the defroster on to show air movement. High, medium, low. We're going to do wipers, low, high, and wash. I turn my 3 lights on, show that my lights up my dash. My windshield is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broke, or missing. No illegal stickers, and has an up-to-date inspection sticker. My wipers are properly mounted and secured, and they are flush with the windshield. Now, what I forgot, I'm going to do my indicators, my left turn signal, right turn signal, and my hazards. Now I'm going to start the truck up. truck is idling. My volts will be between 12 and 14. Engine oil pressure between 40 and 70. Water temp would be between 180 and 185. 185 to 195. Sorry. And my PSI air pressure will be between 120 to 125 PSI. Now we're gonna let the truck warm up, build up pressure until the air governor kicks out. Now the air governor kicked out, I'm going to shut the truck off with the key in the on position, and I'm going to do a static air loss for 1 minute, and I'm going to time it right now.
Don't lose more than...
And in that minute, it will not lose no more than 2 psi. After the static air loss, we didn't lose no more than 2 psi. Now I'm going to hold steady pressure on the brake pedal, and I'm going to time that for a minute, and I'm not going to lose no more than 3 psi. Starting now. In that minute, I didn't lose no more than 3 psi. Now, I'm going to fan my brakes until my low air pressure light and buzzer come on at 60 psi. At 60 psi, my low air pressure light and buzzer came on. I'm going to keep fanning them on, keep fanning my brakes until my spring brake pops out at between 20 and 40. Now, as spring brake popped out, I'm going to take the key, get out of the truck, and get my wheel chocks. I'm going to grab my wheel chocks. While my spring brake is on, then we can get back in the truck. And then you gotta do your 3-point entry at all times. Alright, now we're gonna get in. Buckled up. And I'm gonna start the truck up, and I'm gonna let it build up air pressure until the air governor kicks out. At 60 psi, my low air pressure light and buzzer came off. Now I'm going to keep building pressure until my air governor kicks out at 120, 125. Now my air governor kicked out and my parking brake is engaged. I'm going to tug on it to show that my parking brake is properly working. And that's properly working. Now my spring brake is properly working. I'm going to take my parking brake off, and I'm going to drive ahead at 5 miles an hour. And when I reach 5 miles an hour, I'm going to take my hands off the steering wheel and press the brakes, and it's not going to pull left or right to show my brakes or have adjustment. So, here we go. Concludes my inside pre-trip.
So to summarize, the outside pre-trip is a very important part of your day. Every morning you have to do your pre-trip. It has to pass your pre-trip. You have to do the inside of your pre-trip. If anything fails on the inside, you cannot take your driving test. And when you're done with the outside pre-trip, you have to ask the DMV person to check all your lights for you.